Hi, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about the function of the skeleton in maintaining mineral homeostasis. In Mr. Anderson's video, if you recall, he simply listed homeostasis. But he's really talking about maintaining mineral balance. Now, when we think of skeleton, we always think of calcium. And there are a lot of foods that are rich in calcium, but we need to understand that bone is a lot more than calcium. It stores other minerals, and the plaster that makes bones solid and strong is hydroxyapatite, which is a combination of calcium and phosphate. Then there are other minerals too that are important. And you saw that the hormones from the thyroid and parathyroid are important in maintaining bone remodeling. And actually, it isn't just their function in bone remodeling. It is their function in maintaining proper blood levels of calcium and phosphorus. If the blood levels, and other minerals, if the blood levels of those minerals, in particular calcium, is not maintained at a high level, which is like over 200 times greater in interstitial fluid than inside the cells, particularly of muscle and nerves, you will die, because you'll either have a heart attack, you will not be able to send nerve transmissions and messages throughout your body, your brain won't work, and your muscles will not contract, you'll have tetany, and you will die. And that's why dehydration a lot of times starts causing muscle cramps, because the calcium concentrations are getting higher because you sweated out too much of the water. So they have to be maintained in a narrow range. And just to I've got a video here I want to start just to look at for a minute. This is called The Life of the Osteoclast in Bone. In bone. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. In bone, osteocytes are the stem cells. Osteoclasts are the cells that secrete acid that cause bone to, the mineral in bone to be resorbed. And you can see this happening along this line at an epiphyseal plate. And then osteoblasts can deposit this same mineral by taking it out of bread and putting it on the other side of an epiphyseal plate. And if you refer to your textbook, this is the way the long bones grow. So this happens all the time. And it happens for the purpose of growth of bone, but also for the purpose of maintaining blood levels of these very important minerals, okay? Now you also saw that the thyroid hormones, parathyroid hormone and calcitonin regulate the rate of bone resorption and deposition of mineral into bone, and basically they respond and control blood levels to maintain that homeostatic balance. So that's endocrine system. And the other aspect that I hope you picked up on is that the ability of bone to do, or of your body to do that, and where that bone gets deposited and resorbed from, depends upon exercise. Okay, so you remember Wolff's Law is one of the things that's in your book and in the lesson. Wolff's Law relates to lose it, use it, or lose it. So remember, bone atrophies when it's not being used, like when it's in a cast, and it grows stronger when it's being used. So a person who runs and uses their legs a lot will have stronger leg bones with higher bone density compared to a person who is a couch potato. And as Miriam Diamond says, use it or lose it. In other words, you need an hour of exercise every day to keep you from getting osteoporosis. And that's a disease of a couch potato, basically. It happens to older people because they slow down. And that affects their hormones and the regulation of those aspects of their body. So the other thing I want to share with you is foods that you should look at, and by the way, I've got some here. I've got a mess. I want to see if I can show you. I'm going to pick up my cam and show it to you. I eat a lot of this during the summer from the garden. And there's zucchini, cucumbers. There's even a clementine or two in there. And bits of apple. I had to trim an apple tree, so I cut up the apple and I throw that in this sort of salad. There's green peppers. So the list of foods that are very high in minerals, and by the way, at my house, I have a private well, and my well water is extremely high. Get rid of that noise. My well water is extremely high in calcium. That can be a problem for pipes and things and for lime deposits. But you know what? I think I'd rather have the high calcium than soft water that takes it away from me. So the calcium is important. This is a website, livestrong.com. And this is an article they have relative to foods high in minerals. So asparagus is one, of course. But really, if you look at the pictures, it's colored vegetables, green vegetables. Spinach is real high in calcium. Here's zucchini, cauliflower, cabbage. I don't know what that is, but it's probably beets. And then here's a whole variety of foods of color. Peas, squash. I'm not sure what that is. Fruits. So fruits and vegetables are the thing we should be eating, and milk. As I mentioned before, children in school today do not get enough milk, and it really kills me when a kid walks up to get a second milk and they won't give him one because he hasn't paid for it. That drives me nuts, because we should let them have all the milk they want, especially when they get into the late elementary school and the growth phase of their lives in middle school or junior high and high school. There are suggestions that kids are only getting about 1/5 of the amount of milk that they need every day to have the right amount of calcium for growth. And, they're replacing it with soda pop and fruit juices full of sugar and all that. So it isn't that sugar's bad, it's that when we use it too often, one of the problems is we don't get the good stuff we really need. So if you don't maintain, in fact, this actually happened to my wife, excuse me, she had a reaction, an interaction between two medicines. One of them was quinine, and the other one is Inderal that she takes for vascular headaches or migraine headaches. And when you take those two together, your blood calcium falls rapidly and you will die. And the treatment for it is to put a calcium in a drip, put it in your veins, and wait it out. And that happened 2 or twice before we discovered what the problem was. That was in the years before pharmacies were all computerized with programs that told the pharmacist whether you were going to take a drug that had an interaction with another drug that might have bad side effects. Back in those years, it was up to the doctor to look at that, and our doctor did not look at that before he prescribed quinine for leg cramps to her. So he caused the problem, spent about $20,000 in hospital tests trying to figure it out. And when I asked him if he ever checked the drug interactions, oh yes. In fact, there were 3 doctors there. They didn't check the drug interactions. So that's what's important about having pharmacies. Then you use only one, and the same one that's computerized, so that they can always check if you're taking medicine or being prescribed medicine that could affect any problem in your body, but in this case, mineral homeostasis. So that's one of the major functions of bone. I think you should understand that, try to relate that to your lessons, and understand that that's a very important part. So the skeletal system doesn't act alone. It isn't just there as a Lincoln log set to give your frame structure and allow you to walk upright for mobility. It has a variety of other functions. It interacts with the immune system. It interacts with the excretory system because you either excrete too much chemical or too many minerals, or you conserve those minerals by resorbing them from the kidney. You can also resorb more when needed from the small intestine to help increase or maintain blood levels of these minerals when you need them. And you can absorb less from the small intestine, or you can excrete more from the kidney. So we've got the urinary system involved with the skeletal system, with the endocrine system. And how does it all get around? With the circulatory system. And the circulatory system, by the way, is not just blood vessels, heart, and so forth, and lungs. It's also the lymph vessels and the interstitial fluid that bathes all your tissues. Blood supply throughout your body gets close to all the cells, but it does not touch all the cells. Many of the chemical reactions that occur and the disposal of extra CO2 from respiration and the obtaining by a cell of oxygen happens by diffusion through from the capillaries to the interstitial fluid and so forth, and then of course the CO2 goes back through interstitial fluid into the bloodstream and eventually is expelled through the lungs. But it has to get back into the bloodstream, so there's a conduit under the subclavian veins, really, on both sides of your body is where the major lymph vessels flow into. And by the way, as related to the circulatory function and your health and how well you feel and so forth, exercise, also moving your skeletal muscles, you know, like this, contracts them and pushes that interstitial fluid into and through the lymph vessels. It also helps pump blood through your veins, and that all improves circulation and gets all of these fluids cleaned. And where do they get cleaned? The liver and the kidneys. And then the toxins are excreted through urine and skin and your breath through your lungs. So see, this is a complicated system that we have, and if one part goes wrong, other parts are also affected. And minerals, even though a small proportion of our body weight, are extremely important to maintain homeostasis. They maintain differential concentrations across membranes. They maintain the ability of your nerves to work properly. They maintain your ability of your muscles to work properly. And they maintain your ability to think. And this includes what happens during sleep with cerebral spinal fluid, which is also circulates, and it leaks. It's plasma that leaks out of the capillaries into your brain spaces. Then it bathes all the brain cells, and the toxins are removed at night when you're asleep. That's why you must have good sleep. And it goes into your venous system and then through the filters of your kidney, lungs, and liver to detoxify and eliminate all of those things. Homeostatic balance of minerals is important for all of your body, not just muscles and nerves. So consider that when you think about the skeletal system and how intimately it is integrated with all the other systems in your body. Okay, thanks, and we'll talk to you again next week.